All right, what's up, everyone? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Lead From Here podcast. Today we're talking about, what are we talking about? What did I put down on that notepad? Failure is not final. This is something we talked about a couple weeks back, about how you respond to failure. And I think one of the things that I wanted to make sure we drive home is that failure isn't final. Like, that's not a final destination. Like, that's just a step in the process, right? Like, whether you're talking about your personal growth, your product's growth, your company's growth, your family's growth, your community's growth, you're going to have failures along the way, but that's not where it stops. Like, you're not like, hey, we're growing, failure, we're done. It's we're growing, failure, growing, failure, growing. Like, it is part of the equation, and it's not something you should ignore. Obviously, you should learn from it. You should grow from it. You should make sure that it doesn't repeat, which I had talked about in the last video. If you're repeating mistakes over and over again, you got a bigger issue that you need to deal with. But ultimately, if you're doing anything of value, failure is part of the equation. Failure will happen before you get to the end point of, like, man, we made it. We found success. That doesn't mean that success is also not final. But to get to that part of the growth period of success, you're going to have failures. Some of them will be micro, some of them will be mini, some of them will be major, but you're going to hit multiples. Like, it's not something that it feels like for a long time we talked about failure in this very negative light. It's not a negative outcome. It's not a negative part of the process. It hurts sometimes, and sometimes, it doesn't feel like a good time for it to be happening. But at the end of the day, like, as long as you're taking and learning from it, it's a positive outcome. Like, shouldn't be ignored, shouldn't be punished, but it shouldn't be anything other than a learning opportunity, and keep moving. You'll find way more information and learnings and growth opportunities in failure than you will ever in success. And that's been said a million times. I know I'm not, like, blowing anybody's mind with those comments, but that's the reality of it. So if it's not final, it's not fatal, it's just part of the process. Embracing the fact that it's coming, letting people know that, like, listen, this is a reality. Letting your team know that, like, hey, we're going to go for this. We're going to miss here and there. That's okay. When we do, let's learn from it. Let's talk about it. When we retrospect on it, it's not to blame. It's very much for us to grow and make sure we don't make the same mistake again. That's it. If you set those expectations ahead of time, when you hit those things, you're going to go through them a lot smoother. You're going to get way clearer information because people aren't trying to protect themselves and trying to not get in trouble. Like, people will be much more open to being like, you know what? Honestly, I saw that. I didn't think it was a big deal, and now I feel like I should have said something. But I will, next time I see something like that, I won't let it happen again. And it's like, cool, great. You learned. We learned. And now we know we can't do that. So ultimately, you grow from failure. And as long as you set everybody up to expect that that's coming at some point, obviously we hope to avoid it. But if it happens, it's part of the process. And we're here together. We're failing together. We're succeeding together. We're all together in this. Like, that's the key. If you are pushing for something and you're failing and you're keeping moving and you're all staying together and you're all taking ownership of that together, you will be significantly more effective than if you were like, Jason, why did you drop the ball in this? You failed. You failed the team. You saw it and you didn't say anything. Why wouldn't you do that? You shut down Jason. Jason's not talking anymore. And Jason's not going to throw himself out there and be vulnerable the next time this comes around. So you may not get to the actual root cause because people have shut down. So just something to think about as you're going through the process. Set your people up for it and be prepared for it. And when it happens, react, reflect, move on. That's it. Nothing more than that. If you guys have any other thoughts on this or want to dive into failure more, because there's a lot of layers to failure and there's a lot of nuance, please reach out. Jason@leadfromhere.co. Any of the social media channels, hit me up on DMs. And yeah, I appreciate everybody's time. Take care.